I was standing in line for coffee this morning, debating whether to get the large size instead of the medium. It was only 50 cents more, and my brain immediately went, well, it's such a good deal. I'm practically losing money if I don't buy the bucket-sized latte.
And let me guess, you bought the large, drank 2/3 of it, got the jitters, and threw the rest out?
Exactly. But why do I do that? Why does that logic feel so sound in the moment but so stupid in hindsight?
Because you, my friend, fell into the trap of looking at averages rather than the margin. You weren't thinking about whether you wanted more coffee, you were thinking about the average price per ounce. Today, we are going to fix that. We are talking about marginal analysis.
Marginal analysis. It sounds like something an accountant does in a basement while the rest of us are at a party.
It sounds dry, I'll give you that. But it is actually one of the most powerful, life-altering mental models you can ever learn. It's the secret sauce of economics. It explains why airlines sell tickets for $20, why you shouldn't finish a bad book, and ironically, why diamonds are expensive but water, which you need to survive, is free.
Okay, that's a big claim. So, define it for me. What does it actually mean to think at the margin?
So, the margin is just a fancy word for the edge. It's the next step. Marginal analysis is the process of breaking a decision down into one single unit, the next unit, and weighing the specific benefit of that one unit against its specific cost. It's not about, do I like pizza? It's about, do I want this third slice of pizza right now?
Right. Because the first slice is heaven, the second slice is great, the fifth slice is regret.
Precisely. That's the law of diminishing marginal utility. The total utility of eating a whole pizza is high, but the marginal utility of that fifth slice might actually be negative. It makes you feel sick. If you were thinking at the margin, you'd stop exactly when the pleasure of the next bite equals the pain of being too full.
See, that makes sense for food. But how does this apply to the bigger stuff? You mentioned airlines earlier. I've never understood how the person sitting next to me paid $300 while I paid $50.
This is a classic example. Imagine a plane is about to take off. It has 200 seats. It costs the airline, say, $20,000 to fly that route. Fuel, pilot, crew, landing fees. So, the average cost per seat is $100.
Okay, so logically, they shouldn't sell a ticket for less than $100, or they're losing money.
That's how an average thinker sees it. But the airline thinks at the margin. The plane is flying anyway. The pilot is already paid. The fuel is already in the tank. If there is one empty seat left 10 minutes before departure, what is the marginal cost of putting one more passenger in it?
I guess. A bag of peanuts and a little bit of jet fuel for the wait?
Exactly, maybe $10. So if they sell that seat to you for $50, they aren't losing $50. They are making $40 profit on that specific marginal decision. They ignored the sunk costs of the flight and looked only at the edge, the margin.
That is fascinating. It's almost like you have to develop a kind of selective amnesia. You have to ignore the big picture of what you've already spent and only look at what happens next.
Selective amnesia is a great way to put it. This brings us to the hardest part of marginal thinking: ignoring sunk costs. Humans are terrible at this. We are emotional hoarders of our past mistakes.
Oh, I feel this. Like watching a movie that is absolutely terrible, but sitting through the whole 2 hours because I paid for the ticket.
Yes, that is economic irrationality. The money for the ticket is gone. It's sunk. It's not coming back, whether you stay or leave. The marginal decision is the next hour of my life worth more to me doing something else or suffering in this theater?
But it feels like quitting. It feels like waste.
The waste happened when you bought the ticket. Sitting there for another hour is just compounding the waste. You're throwing good time after bad money. A rational marginal thinker walks out of the movie, closes the bad book, and yes, sometimes abandons a project that isn't working, even if they've spent a year on it.
That's tough, though. In business? Sure. But in life? Let's say I'm studying for an exam. I've been studying for 4 hours. I'm tired. My brain is fog. but I feel like I should study 2 more hours to be prepared.
Let's apply the framework. What is the marginal benefit of that 5th hour?
Probably very low. I'm just staring at the page.
And the marginal cost?
High. I'm losing sleep. I'm getting stressed, and I'm probably not retaining anything.
Exactly. The optimal point is where marginal benefit equals marginal cost. If you push past that, you are technically making yourself worse off. We have this cultural obsession with maximization, maximum effort, maximum hours. But optimization is different. Optimization means stopping when the next unit of effort costs more than it's worth. Sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is go to sleep.
So, laziness can be economically justified? I love this philosophy.
It's not laziness, it's efficiency. But let's go deeper. There is a philosophical danger here too. If you live your life only at the margin, you might miss the forest for the trees.
How so?
Well, think about bad habits. Smoking a cigarette. If you apply marginal analysis to one single cigarette, the math is tricky. The marginal benefit is, I feel relaxed right now. The marginal cost is, what? A tiny microscopic amount of damage to your lungs?
Right. One cigarette doesn't give you cancer. So, at the margin, the cost seems negligible.
Exactly. If you evaluate every cigarette individually, you'll never quit. Because the immediate pleasure always outweighs the microscopic, invisible harm of that one instance. The cost only becomes real when you aggregate them.
That's a scary trap. So, marginal analysis works great for pricing airline tickets or eating pizza. But it can justify a slow slide into bad habits?
It can. This is what Clayton Christensen called the marginal cost of doing it just this once. It's easier to hold to your principles 100% of the time than 98% of the time. Because once you allow that marginal exception just this once, the marginal cost of the next exception gets lower and lower.
That is profound. It's like the edge is slippery.
Very. But let's flip it back to the positive side. Think about innovation. Most people think innovation requires a giant revolutionary leap, but most progress happens at the margin.
You mean incremental improvements?
Yes, the British cycling team became famous for this, the aggregation of marginal gains. They didn't look for a bike that was 50% faster, they looked for a tyre that was 1% lighter, a pillow that helped the athlete sleep 1% better, a suit that was 1% more aerodynamic.
And you stack those 1% margins up, and suddenly you're unbeatable.
Correct. Marginal analysis teaches us that we don't need to change our whole lives overnight. We just need to improve the next decision. The margin is the only place where you actually have power. You can't change the past, that's a sunk cost. You can't control the distant future, you only control the margin. The right now.
It's empowering, actually. It takes the pressure off. I don't need to fix my life. I just need to make sure the next hour is profitable in terms of value.
Spot on. And it helps you value things correctly. I mentioned the water diamond paradox earlier. This stumped Adam Smith, the father of economics. Why is water, which is essential for life, so cheap, while diamonds, which are useless, are so expensive?
Because diamonds are rare?
That's part of it. But it's really about the margin. We have so much water that the marginal utility of one extra cup of water is basically zero. You use it to wash your car, but because diamonds are scarce, the marginal utility of getting one more diamond is huge. Value is determined at the margin, not by total usefulness.
That explains why we pay teachers less than quarterbacks.
Sadly, yes. The total value of teaching is immense, but the marginal value, the cost to replace one specific teacher versus one specific superstar quarterback, is how the market prices things. It's cold, but it explains the world.
So, if I want to increase my value in my career, for example, I shouldn't just be useful. I need to offer something where the marginal supply is low.
Bingo! You need to be the diamond, not the water. You need to be the thing that is hard to replace at the margin.
This really does change how you view everything. It turns decision-making from this emotional, heavy burden into a calculation.
It clarifies things. It clears the fog. When you are stuck, ask yourself, what are the sunk costs I need to ignore? And what is the specific gain and cost of just the very next step?
And if the cost is higher than the gain,
Then you stop. You walk out of the movie. You put down the book. You don't eat the fifth slice of pizza.
and you definitely don't buy the large coffee just because it's a deal.
Never buy the large coffee unless you actually want that much caffeine.
I think I'm going to print that on a t-shirt. Living at the margin. It sounds risky, but it's actually the most prudent way to live.
It is. It's about being present. The past is data, the future is a projection, but the margin is reality. It's where the action is.
Well, looking at the clock, the marginal benefit of us continuing to talk is about to run into the marginal cost of our listeners' attention spans.
A perfect application of the theory.
Thank you for breaking this down. I feel like I'm going to be analyzing every sandwich and every email for the rest of the week.
Just don't overthink it. Analysis paralysis has a high marginal cost too.
Fair point. Thanks for listening, everyone. Go find your edge.
See you at the next decision point.